Beyond having a lot of opinions on matters for landlords, I have a lot of opinions on matters of the heart. And this story combines them both. I am so excited.
What a tease.
I know.
Okay.
All right. So this comes from poster Tenant Uncertain. Headline here. I, 26-year-old female, am finding myself falling in love with my landlord. So this renter is... She found herself in a bad situation. She was trying to leave. She moved out into the city with her 7-year-old. This is very important. She has a little kid. Okay. She has no support in the city. But that's okay. If you've got enough gumption, you can make it anywhere.
Absolutely.
Except then COVID hit, and she was a waitress. And so gumption runs a little dry when there's a global pandemic happening. So she was struggling to find work. She's running out of food. You know, her kiddo is all set up, but everything else is kind of falling apart. So she talks to one of her colleagues. And her colleague said, hey, I know this great guy, and he's going to rent out his basement. But he's not just renting it to anyone. So, like, I'd be calling in a favor, but do you want to go check it out? And she's like, renting a basement from some unknown entity? Like, that's a little suspicious. She's kind of on the fence. It sounds too good to be true. And the colleague is like, no, let's just go and meet him and see the place. Okay. So she brings her kiddo and her colleague to the rental. She meets the landlord, who also has a small son around the age of her daughter.
Okay.
It's a beautiful spot. It's a beautiful home. It's a walkout basement rental, so they have access to the yard where the kiddos can play. The kiddos are getting along really well. Everything is looking good. She's like, man, this might be it. This is good vibes, good feelings. So after a lot of hesitation, she agrees. She signs a lease. She's in. But this landlord is not your typical landlord.
Uh-oh.
What I mean is he's like, hey, it's okay that you can't pay rent for these first few months. You can pay me back at some point. I will buy groceries. I will make sure that everything is like turned on, the heat's on, utilities are paid. I will take care of it because he's also living in this place, right? So she's in the basement. He's on the upper floor. It's working out for a long time. They're like starting to become kind of like a little family unit. She eventually is able to start repaying him for the rent that she missed. She starts contributing to groceries. He's cooking meals for everyone. He is like taking her kiddo to play dates. Her kid and his kid play all the time. They go to school. They're doing all the stuff. It's like a pseudo family unit, right? Well, as you might expect,
there are bodies.
There are no bodies.
Oh, okay.
There are matters of the heart, Jonathan.
You're right. Wrong movie.
Wrong movie. No, this is
ahead.
wholesome. No, she's like, oh my gosh, this landlord is so nice. He's so sweet. He's good with his kid. He's good with my kid. We're kind of taking on life together. We're cooking meals together, like all of this stuff. And it starts to blur the line between landlord and tenant.
Yeah.
So it starts to feel more like family unit.
Yes.
Right? So she came to Reddit because she was like, what do I do about this? Do I do anything? Like, will I risk my housing if I confess my love for my landlord? He's pretty reserved. He's really nice. He's very kind. But she doesn't have a read on him romantically. Okay. What a dicey situation to find yourself in. Horrible. I would never, ever recommend mixing legal matters and matters of the heart. But alas, here we are. So...
Well,
she wants to know. She's like, hey, do I swallow my feelings? Do I tell him? Like, what should I do? And Lord knows I have several opinions.
Of course. I think we all do.
Yeah.
I love, first of all, that you keep calling it matters of the heart. It's fantastic. So I think at the start you mentioned the age of our poster is 26?
Yes.
How old's our landlord?
I believe, and let me look right here because we do have that information. I believe he's 38.
38, 12-year age difference, but their kids are similar ages.
Similar ages.
Yeah.
His son is a little bit younger, so he's like 4, daughter is 7.
Okay. And you gave a great truncated telling of this tale. It should be noted, this is a very long post. And there are no comments on it because this one, I guess the mods on this particular subreddit said, you're looking for moral advice. That's not what this is. So
tragic.
It's a good thing we're here to tackle this one. So from the start of it, it sounds like a real meet cute, right? This could totally be a rom-com. Woman down on her luck. She goes to the big city. It doesn't even say what city, by the way.
It does not. So we have no geographic information. Wish that we did. I'm sure that there are state and specific laws for counties that might play into this, but we're going to take it as broadly as possible.
Sure. Goes to the big city. Finds a nice guy. Could be really creepy. Not creepy, though.
Not creepy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts? Is there anything wrong with this?
So what you have to know is that I am a very paranoid person. So when I was reading this, I was like, okay, yeah, love is great. But also, do you have enough in savings in case this all goes south after you have a conversation? Yeah. Because I also believe in being transparent about your feelings, but prepared.
Yes.
You know? Mm-hmm. So if this poster was my friend, I would sit her down. I'd probably give her a hug because Lord knows, this sounds like a lot. But sit her down and say, hey, I totally understand. Like, you can't control your feelings. This person seems really nice. He seems great. Let's make sure that you have everything you need to move out in case it goes horribly wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay? I know I'm not saying you don't have to share your heart with him. I am saying have enough money in the bank to hit the road just in case. Yeah. Because we don't know where he stands. It could be that he is just being friendly and he does not see this romantically, and this kind of confession will make things really awkward and maybe kind of break things apart a little bit. That's one of her fears, at least. It could go really swimmingly, and you could use the money that you saved up for a honeymoon fund. That's
there you go.
Business. Yeah, go
and then she just moves in with them and stops paying rent, and they just get married and live happily ever after.
It could be.
It could be great.
But before you have that conversation, I would say, especially because there's a kid in the mix, have the money and the resources you need to be able to leave. Mm-hmm. So that might mean saving up for quite a few months before you have this kind of conversation. If something pops up naturally, let's say he just gets a twinkle in his eye one morning as he's making you coffee and he's like, love has always been here. It wasn't written in the lease, but it came in anyway.
Did you have that? Did you have that prepared?
No.
The love in the
I'm
lease?
just a genius.
Okay. That's what lease addendums are for.
That's what lease addendums are for.
For professing your love for your tenant.
Exactly. But really, on the renter side, just make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Save up, have an escape route planned, and then sit him down one day. It doesn't even have to be a big production. Mm-hmm. It could be while he's making dinner and be like, you know what? You're more than just a landlord to me. You're
a landlove.
A landlove. And see what he says.
You know, people always say maybe you shouldn't live with your best friend, or maybe you shouldn't live with family, as in like renting to family, because if things go sour, they could go really sour. Mm-hmm. It could be not only do you need to find a new tenant now, but you also need to find a new brother.
Yeah.
Which is
a lot harder in this market.
Yeah. And this is absolutely the case here where, say things don't work out, this person could not only need to look for a new place to live, they also would be out of love.
Out of home-cooked meals, out of play date arrangements. So you really have to look at everything and just have a backup plan, right? But again, I'm a huge believer in following your heart. So sure, have the conversation, sit down with him, just make sure everything's ready to go in case it doesn't go the way you want it to.
Now let's flip it around, because this is written from Tenant Uncertain.
Sure.
This is from the 26-year-old tenant. What about the 38-year-old landlord?
Ooh, I would be giving them very different advice. Because here's the thing. There's an inherent power dynamic when there's a landlord and a renter. If you're a landlord and you start developing feelings for your renter, you need to stop that right now. Because you control where they live. Yeah. And that means that you have more power over them than they have over you. And that can make things really dicey. Mm-hmm. So I'm, again, big believer in following your heart. But at that point, if I was talking to the landlord, I might recommend waiting until the lease is up so that there isn't a pressure to if I don't tell him I love him and re-sign this lease, I'll be homeless. Yep. You don't want to put someone in that position. So you got to be thoughtful.
I think that's a great point.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Invite us to the wedding, please, if there is one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We will create a song about landlord love, and we will sing it there.
We have ukuleles.
And we'll use them.
We will. That is a threat.